Hi, I'm Liv and welcome back to the Book Nook. So we have reached the stage once more where I am in, I don't want to say dire need because there's nothing dire about it, but I'm in real need of a haircut right about now. My hair keeps trying to part on the other side, which is where it always used to part, but I've been sort of training it to part over this side, so it now wants to part again here, sort of. But it's really weird and confusing, and that's not a good look. And I have got used to my face this way round, as I'm sure you have, so I'm currently just wrestling my hair every day, and I'm often ending up with this every day. So something needs to be done. So today's video is going to be my March haul part 1. I am fully expecting a part 2. I am hoping not to go so mad that there becomes a part 3. So I'm going to start with some books that have been sent to me by some lovely publishers, and the first one I want to mention is one that I was sent in celebration of International Women's Day from the lovely Susanna over at Quadrille or Quadrille. I'm not quite sure which way round, I've never heard it said out loud, so I don't know how they do it. And they sent me a copy, Susanna sent me a copy of The Penis is Mightier Than, no, wait, The Pen is Mightier Than the Penis, that's the way round, which is a really cool little book, Words for the Wise from the World's Greatest Female Writers. So it's basically a book of quotes, and you've just got some amazing stuff in there. I married beneath me, all women do, Viscountess Astor, I've probably pronounced that wrong, and oh, there's a hooper, oh, cool. Cool. I slept and dreamed that life was beauty. I woke and found that life was duty. Ellen Sturgis Hooper. Cool. Another Hooper. I like that. So it's a really cool book of quotes. So yes, it's a really cool little one. And what Susanna also sent me to go along with this, which I will be using with pride, is a tote bag. God loves a tote bag. The penis is mightier, no, the pen is mightier than the penis. Why can I not say that the right way around? And then on the back, so yeah, huge thank you to Susanna for the bag and the book. I shall be imbibing in some celebratory quotes from time to time. Then I've got some lovely books here from the wonderful people at Picador. Huge thank you to Alice Majoring over at Picador for sending me these. First up, we have got Lovecraft Country by Matt Ruff. This is one that I've been really intrigued about for a little while, and I'm trying to remember whose channel I saw it on. Here comes my bad memory once again. In this book, a young man is on a search for his father, and he's travelling with his uncle, who is the publisher of the, I want to say this right, the Safe Negro Travel Guide, which, as I say, is riffing on real books that were out around about the sort of Jim Crow era that were told people where they could travel safely, and it's one that sort of blends sort of horror stories and bigotry. So I was quite intrigued by this one, and sort of you can tell from the cover it's got that sort of pulp horror type stylings, America's Demons Exposed, and I just thought it was a really interesting approach to racism and race relations in America and the history of that, and was just really intrigued to see what Matt Ruff does with that one. So yeah, looking forward to chucking into this one. The next one is another one from Picador that I've been really intrigued by, and I want to express a note of wonder at the production of this book. I think this is gorgeous, and it's I Love You Too Much by Alicia Drake. And I just want to show you, so this book, it's a lovely cloth-bound, yellow cloth-bound, black and white photo with gorgeous end papers, black and white photos in the back, and it's got this, again, as an object. You guys know how much I love books as objects and the production values that go into it. This is a beautiful thing, so props Picador for that. Picador? Why am I talking so weird today? Picador. So I Love You Too Much is the story of a 13-year-old boy, Paul, who's growing up in Paris, and he's sort of observing all these adults' lives around him, and they're all sort of quite self-absorbed, and I think he makes friends with a sort of bit of a tearaway from school, and it's sort of a coming-of-age story set in Paris, and it's going to be really beautiful. So yeah, really intrigued by this one. The production values of this book, as I say, is just mwah. Then another fiction book from Picador, which I am so stoked about and really can't wait to read, and will be bumping it up my TBR because I can't wait, is Oreo by Fran Ross. So this is a proof cover. So this is a book that was originally published, and I want to get the year right, by Small Press in 1974. Received little or no attention. Sadly, it was the only novel Fran Ross ever wrote, and even more sadly, Ross died at 50 back in 1985. So this is, I'm going to read the blurb for this one because I don't think I'll do it justice otherwise. Born to a Jewish father and black mother, Oreo is brought up in Philadelphia by her grandparents while her mother tours with a dance troupe. Her father hasn't been seen since she was a baby, so when Oreo turns 14, she sets out for New York in search of him. All she has as her guide is the mysterious note her father left for her, but in the big city there are dozens of Sam Schwartzes, and as our young heroine navigates a labyrinth of subway tunnels and brothels, she embarks on an extraordinary journey of self-discovery. Based on the myth of Theseus, That was a noise where I'm excited about Greek myth retellings and tried to say myth, but just came out as meh. We'll go with that. Oreo is a wickedly funny novel of race and identity. It's a work of postmodern brilliance, a satire of extraordinary intelligence and whip-smart wordplay, a book decades ahead of its time. How many boxes does this tick for me? Most of them. So I'm very, very excited to read this one. So lastly from Picador and lastly from publishers so far this month, a bit of non-fiction, The Debatable Land by Graham Robb. This is a book about the debatable land which was an independent territory which used to exist between Scotland and England, the oldest detectable territorial division in Great Britain. Now, one of the things I realised when I went to Edinburgh over a year ago now was how ignorant I am about sort of really British history, and I say British because I think we get English history, the Tudors and all of that, shoved down our throats at school. We don't really get taught much about the history of the divisions in our own country between sort of Scotland, Ireland, Wales, and I realised how ignorant I am about all of that. So aside from picking up a few books on Scotland and Scottish-British history while I was out in Edinburgh, I've also been keeping an eye out for books that sort of deal with that. So when I saw The Debatable Land was being published, I was like, yes, please. So those are the books I have been sent so far this month. Now I'm going to go on to the books I've bought. But first of all, I'm just going to haul something else that I have bought. Not a book, but what's the other thing I buy lots of? It's a mug. So I bought this one on International Women's Day. It's something we sell at work now at Waterstones. Feminist, I bought my mum for Mother's Day one that says woman power as well. And obviously it's an interesting thing, and it was something I was aware of around International Women's Day this year in particular, is that International Women's Day and feminism seems to have become a sellable brand, a sort of this thing that, you know, people can just write feminist on something and it will sell. And part of me wants to be cynical, and part of me is cynical about the cashing in that sort of brands do. But then part of me is also like, you know what, if people buy it and will proudly wear things that say feminist on them or use things that say feminist on them, then more power to them. But yeah, it's always with a pinch of salt, you know, like I went into Paper Chase and they had a whole range of notebooks and things that sort of the future is female, #feminist on them, I was not born to be subtle, and other things like that. And it was really sort of fantastic to see on the one hand, but on the other hand I was like, you're charging £8 for a notebook to decry that you're a feminist, and it's not decry, that's not the right word, but to charge sort of £8 for a notebook that says feminist on it is a bit sort of like, maybe just like make that a lot cheaper and then it's more accessible and lots more people can buy it, I don't know. And that's kind of how I feel about this mug, but I did buy it on International Women's Day because I was working on International Women's Day and it was such a great day. All of the women working in the store, the fabulous, fabulous ladies that I work with, we were all kind of buoyed by it, and it was something we sort of said that actually, I realised I was kind of walking with a bit of, and I hate this word, but a bit of a swagger. And I was like, hang on, is this what it's like for men every day? So it was a really good day, a really lovely International Women's Day at work. It was quite nice. Lots of customers were wishing us happy International Women's Day, which was quite nice. And we had this pin board put up, which my dear friend Emily, who is the manager of the cafe in our shop, put up this pin board, and it was a really lovely idea where people could write down women who have inspired them and pin them up on the board. And it went really well, and lots of people put up inspiring women, and it was just really lovely to see people celebrating. So yeah, that was just a mug haul that turned into a feminism branding kind of thing, and International Women's Day, yay, thoughts. So, books that I have bought so far this month. The first one that I picked up is The Secret Lives of Colour by Cassia St. Clair. Now, this is one that was a Radio 4 either book at bedtime or book of the week, one of these, a while ago, and I'm not quite sure what happened to printing the paperback of it. It seems to have been delayed or something, but basically we had one copy left and I thought, I'm intrigued by this one. And it's really nice because it gives little bits of sort of history about all the different colours in the rainbow. 75 most fascinating shades, dyes and hues, from blonde to ginger, the brown that changed the way battles were fought, to the white that protected against the plague. So it's just lots of stories about colour, and I thought, I'm intrigued. Yes, I did just say intrigued. I did just pronounce the U in intrigued. Why not? Then I bought myself a copy of a poetry collection that I have been so excited about, and that is Sophie Collins' Who is Mary Sue, published by Faber. And yeah, I've just been really excited about this one. And again, this is one where I am going to read the blurb from the flap, because otherwise I will not do it justice. In the language of fanfiction, a Mary Sue is an idealised and implausibly flawless character, a female archetype that can infuriate audiences for its perceived narcissism. Such is the setting for this brilliant and important debut by Sophie Collins, in a series of verse and prose collages. Who is Mary Sue exposes the presumptive politics behind writing and readership, the idea that men invent while women reflect, that a man writes of the world outside while a woman will turn to the interior. Hello! So yeah, I'm a little bit excited to spend some time with this one. Then I picked up two books that were announced as being on the Women's Prize for Fiction longlist. First one is When I Hit You by Mina Kandasamy, I can't pronounce it. And I think I mentioned this in the Women's Prize for Fiction little chat video that I did. I'm sure this had a subtitle and I keep forgetting it and I keep forgetting to look it up, and I'm just intrigued as to why that didn't make it to the paperback. So as far as I can tell, this is a book that deals with sort of domestic abuse and sort of gaslighting and fighting back against those powers, and it's meant to be absolutely beautiful. I had heard a lot about this one even before it was on the Women's Prize for Fiction long list, and I'd been meaning to sort of dig it out, so once it was announced, it had to happen. And the other one I picked up is A Boy in Winter by Rachel Seifert, still not sure how you pronounce that, which is about a small Ukrainian town being overrun by the SS and the sort of 3 days that follow that, and a determined young boy, Yankel. So I'm always a little bit torn with war fiction. I don't know what it is. I think that's maybe a topic for a whole other video, my thoughts on sort of war fiction. But yeah, so this is one from the long list that I bought because I saw we had it in and I had heard some stuff about it, and I think one of my colleagues had been reading it, and I was sort of, okay. And I think I had just finished reading Moonstone when I decided to pick this one up, and sort of off the back of that I was thinking, okay, maybe I need to give sort of wartime fiction a chance again, so I picked it up, but we shall see how I go with that. Then I picked up a book which I would not have seen were it not for the opening of Penguin's Like a Woman pop-up bookshop for International Women's Day, so I obviously was not going to be able to get up to London to visit, which is a shame, but I followed vicariously through Twitter and Instagram and whatnot, and saw a couple of sort of Snapchats and things of the tables and displays that they've got in, and I saw this one, and again, I will be totally honest, it was so shallow. The cover design drew me to this. I saw it in one of the Snapchats and managed to sort of do like a freeze frame to see what the title actually was and dug it out, and it's not necessarily normally my kind of thing. The whole sort of fiction on boats, I know that's sort of a thing that Simon's had as well, and it's only listening to him talk about that I've realised, yeah, I don't tend to like books set on boats and things like that, but this one, again, cover design, Woman at Sea by Catherine Poulin, and it is based a little bit on her life, but it's about a runaway who runs away from France in search of freedom, and she ends up in Alaska, and she ends up on a fishing boat. Why was that so hard? So she becomes the only woman working on this boat, and it's sort of an exploration around that, and as I say, sort of partly based on her own experiences, so I'm quite intrigued by that one, and as I say, totally shallow, but that cover, oh, I will one day do a video on cover designs and book designs and why. I know I've sort of mentioned it in a lot of videos and in tags and things, spoken about it, but I think I will do one day a video on my love for books as objects and design and elements and things like that. If people would be interested in seeing that, let me know. Speaking of cover design, again though, this next book that I bought is one that I think I would have bought anyway, but I definitely bought when they brought out the new cover, and that is Disobedience by Naomi Alderman. Now, first of all, this is the new cover, so they have designed it in line with The Power for Naomi Alderman. This is the original cover that we've had on our bookshelves. Can you see why I went for this one over the other one? I don't really like dissing cover design, and I'm not necessarily saying that this is the right cover design for this book, but obviously there is a reason that it's like this, because it draws in with The Power, and then it gives Naomi Alderman and her sort of backlist this identity, which, note to publishers, fine, do that once, don't do it again when she brings out the next one, and don't... But yeah, that cover I have seen on our shelves at work, and I have nearly bought it a few times, and it has been the cover that has put me off, and that is so shallow, and again, that's part of what I can talk about in a you know, book design video. But, as I say, this new cover, yes please. The other part of the reason I bought this one is it has been turned into a film with, I've forgotten already, Rachel McAdams and Rachel Weisz. That's it, two Rachels. That's why I got a bit confused, because I thought I couldn't possibly be right that it was two Rachels. It's been turned into a film with the two of them, and it is a story about two women, one of whom, her father is a rabbi in an Orthodox Jewish community, and she is cast out from that community for, we don't quite know why, but it becomes clear that it's because her and another woman within this community ended up having a relationship, and so when her father dies and she comes back to this community, it sort of draws on that sort of the tensions and the conflict and in this tight-knit community. So it was always one that I was probably likely to read, a story of queer love between women. Yes, I will read that any day, but yeah, especially with the new cover, I was more likely to pick it up. Then I picked up another two, ooh, receipt, rain. It's another two of the Pushkin Press, why can't I talk? Pushkin Press Japanese novella series. First up is Miss I Sandwich by Mieko Kawakami, which I don't know as much about, which I think is a bit of a sort of unrequited love type story, or observing someone that you love. And again, these covers, guys, you're outdoing yourselves. And then the latest one, The Bear and the Paving Stone by Toshiyuki Hori. Now this one is much like not Strange Weather in Tokyo. What do I mean? Record of a Night Too Brief, that's what I mean. Much like Record of a Night Too Brief, this one is actually 3 novellas, 3 stories in one, so very, very intrigued by this one. Then I picked up a copy of the paperback of Neil Gaiman's Norse Mythology, and I picked up a copy in white because that was all we had in. Since then, the black version has come in, and I may have to swap it, or I may just have to buy both. But yeah, I probably don't need to tell you much about this one. This is Neil Gaiman's retellings of the Norse myths. And lastly, I have bought a copy of, now, you know how bad I am at pronouncing names, so this should be fun, The World Goes On by Laszlo Krasznokaj. I'm going with that. There's just things on each, like, letter. Laszlo Krasznokaj? So I picked up a copy of this because I had been eyeing it up, and I have been eyeing up Krasznokaj ever since, well, for a while, but particularly since Sophie over at Portal of the Pages has been talking about some of his previous ones. What's the one with the 3 red scratches? Something about a wolf. And then Sophie had mentioned that she had read this one, or was reading this one, and then this one was announced as being on the Man Booker International Longlist, which has been announced, which I will talk about ever so briefly. So yeah, that's one that I picked up here. I do not think I have ever read a book by a Hungarian author full stop, let alone any Krasznokaj, so I'm really excited to get around to this one. So the Man Booker International Longlist was announced, and what have we got? We've got Laurent Bonnet's 7th Function of Language, Javier Sasas, The Imposter, Virginie Despentes, Vernon Subtext 1, Jenny Uppenbeck's Go Went Gone, Han Kang's The White Book, Ariana Harwich's Die My Love, Laszlo Krasznokaj's The World Goes On, Antonio Munoz Molina, Like a Fading Shadow, Christoph Ransmayr, The Flying Mountain, Amid Sawadi, Frankenstein in Baghdad, Olga Tokarczuk, maybe? Flights, Wu Ming Ying, The Stolen Bicycle, Gabriela Ibarra, The Dinner Guest. So that's the long list. Of those I have read Ariana Harwich's Die My Love, I've got The White Book, I've got The 7th Function of Language, I have been eyeing up a few others, but essentially I've decided, with the exception of this one, because I've been eyeing it up anyway, and because I think Krasznokaj probably will end up on the shortlist, potentially. Well, I say that because he's won the Man Booker International before, but he won the Man Booker International before when it was awarded on the basis of an author's sort of whole collection of works rather than for a specific book, so who knows. So actually that could go either way. Rambling now. With the exception of that one, I'm not going to go out and buy any of the other long-listed ones. I will try and read the ones that I have got because, I mean, Han Kang's The White Book I have been meaning to read since I got it, and I don't know what's taken me so long to get around to that one, so I will definitely be reading that one. I want to read the Krasznokaj. I've been meaning to read the Laurent Bonnet, but I've been torn as to whether I read first. But yeah, so essentially this year I have decided it is not going to be the year of long lists for me. There is just a lot else on, and as much as I would love to get around to all the long lists and dedicate that time to them, there are just so many other books that I'd want to read. I also want to be cracking on with my Yob books. So far this year I've only done one, which is really not very good going, for something that's no pressure. So I'd like to get back on with my Yob books. So I'm not going to do the long list, but I am intrigued to see the short list, which we don't actually have to wait long for the short list, actually. The short list is announced on the 12th of April. Man Booker International doesn't give you sort of long between shortlist and long list. So yeah, so that is my first part of my March haul and little initial thoughts on Man Booker International. Have a little chat with me in the comments below, as per usual, about any of the books that I have spoken about. Let me know if you would like to see some kind of video on, you know, books as objects and things like that. And yeah, have a little chat with me down below. So thanks very much for watching, and you'll see me next time. Goodbye.